if you look at what's happening in the U.S. and China as far as iPhone purchase intent, is it too early to say, even on the China side, whether some of the trade tension and maybe opinions about U.S. companies might be having some impact, or is it a broader issue just with smartphone demand over there in general?
I think it's a lot of factors. I think that most of the weakness, if you actually sort of noodle through all the data, most of the weakness in the survey data came out with the 10R. So I think there's generally weak intent in China, but I think that the new 10R model is selling particularly weaker than they thought in China. I think that there's some pretty competitive models that are priced just a little bit below where they're bringing this model in. I think also they're facing currency issues as well there. So I think there's a number of issues. I'm not sure that the trade issues are having that much of an effect on iPhone demand yet, though.
But how do you square that, Tim, with Greg Joswick, head of iPhone product marketing, saying that the 10R has been the top-selling iPhone version since it came out? Were expectations just that high, or is there a problem overall with high-end 10-line iPhone demand?
Well, look, I think there's still a big imbalance with the number of phones that they thought would sell versus what are actually selling. And if you look at still, we don't really know, the numbers obviously, but if you look at what we think they're building, we think that they're supplying roughly 40% of all the, new phones that are being supplied are, 10R. And if you look at the survey data, it would suggest that the demand's more like 20% of the, new phones should be 10R. So from a supply-demand perspective, there's still a pretty big imbalance. You've seen the suppliers to Apple have all sounded pretty bad. I think that they're going to continue to sound bad going forward. I just think that they are still going to have a bad narrative the next 6 months. Now, there's a lot of other things happening at Apple. Not just iPhone. I think Watch is selling great, services are great, but as it relates to iPhone, I think there's still going to be a pretty bad narrative the next 6 months.
You mentioned services being great, Tim, and of course, one of the narratives of the fall has been, what's the link between unit growth and eventual services growth, especially if you cater closer to the low end of the price spectrum? How worried are you about that?
Well, look, I think that there's definitely a direct attach between services and the price of the phone. People buying more expensive phones have more money to spend on services. But Apple has said time and time again that there's significantly more than half of the active iPhone installed base. So that would imply 600 million, maybe 650 million active iPhones that are paying zero for services, nothing. So yes, there's an attach rate that sort of scales with that pricing spectrum. But look, if Apple can come out with a new video bundle, Apple can sort of come out with a streaming service, something to get even 100 million of those users to pay $5 a month would really move the needle. That would add 2 points of growth to Apple at the corporate level. So this is a big needle that they can push on next year.